really hoping that it is working.
We'll know because it'll say live instead of off air.
Like on our thing,
Yeah.
it says live. So
It says live?
Yeah.
Mine says off air. Oh, there it goes. It went.
Okay, so we're good?
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. I will. I'm going to quickly play the normal intro to make sure I say what Jack says.
Okay.
I frankly never pay attention.
Mm-mm. Me either. I just listened to see if he spliced in a joke or not.
Point to the spot.
Oh, there will be a joke.
Point to the spot is boring for what? It's my entirely bonkers. What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack Kelly, and welcome to another episode of Point to the Spot, a U.S.-based podcast focused on the world of football.
Okay. I got it. Okay. This will be good. If I fuck it up, I can always do it over again. Okay.
Yeah.
Gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How's it going, everyone? This is Andrew Ball, and this is the 11th incarnation of Point to the Spot, a U.S.-based podcast focusing on the world of football. As you've noticed, I'm not Jack Kelly. Jack has been sent to the stands for dissent with how Reed and I want to run the podcast.
Yes.
Not actually, he has a group project, and it will be just the two of us today. And of course, that voice you hear on the other end is live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mr. Reed Hammond, how are you, sir?
I'm really good. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a good Sunday. It's been a productive Sunday, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah. And no Jack as well. So,
So this is gonna be, bar none, the best podcast we have ever done.
Oh yeah, when the parents are away, the boys will play. So it's be a blast.
So to that end, why don't we just dive right into this weekend's familiar results? It was a busy weekend.
It was.
And we'll start on Saturday with the Saturday morning match, Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal trying to put up a last stand potentially for a title challenge, but Chelsea potentially with a nail in the coffin for this title race, behind goals from Marcos Alonso, Eden Hazard, and Cesc Fabregas. They beat the Gunners at Stamford Bridge 3-1. Reed, is the title race over?
You really got to think it is, because it's a very similar result to the last one against Liverpool, where granted they won this week as opposed to the draw against Liverpool, but it really felt like a definitive moment in the title race and in the league at large, and you really got to think they're going to pull away with it.
I mean, the big thing for Chelsea is getting 4 points this week was massive, and just they're so methodical and like against bad or mediocre teams that I don't see where they're going to drop points. Maybe against City, maybe they have to go away to Everton, away somewhere like West Ham. Maybe there's some draws in there, but I just don't see where, Spurs or City or Arsenal can make up the 9, 10, 12 points that they need.
Yes, 12 right now, but it's really interesting. What's really, really interesting is that I think you see some of the remnants of the side that Jose Mourinho built over those years of being able to methodically be a flat track bully and just beat down the lower level teams. But I think what Conte has infused into this team is a work ethic and a sense of collective responsibility that pushes them past those upper echelon teams as well. So it's kind of like when you don't lose to the big boys or the little boys, you just kind of don't lose anymore and you win the title, I think is how that works most of the time.
I mean, it's kind of been talked about a lot, but I mean, Conte has been a game changer for Chelsea. And I think it was Ian McIntosh today tweeted that Leicester's most important player is N'Golo Kante this season, because without him, they have been straight garbage. And we'll get to that, I'm sure, later in the show. And I think you're right that they almost remind me of a German side in the machine nature, just like, no emotion, no mercy, just hammering away. And
that sense of the mine shaft of
Yeah.
just the machine.
and the machine has just been rolling on. And
Yeah.
I mean, I saw somewhere yesterday where I think it was ESPN FC, in their description of their Spurs review, said that Spurs are trying to keep Chase in the title race. And as a Spurs fan, it's not going to happen. I mean, got to give it up. But the title race might be over, but the relegation battle is just heating up. And we'll go next to London, Crystal Palace 0, Sunderland 4. Just a drubbing by Sunderland yesterday. The Black Cats behind brace from Jermaine Defoe, who could be the most important player to any Premier League team in the league this season, because without him, Sunderland would kind of be sunk, I think. Just battered Palace. Sunderland's still in last place, but they're now tied with Palace within a shout of getting out of the relegation zone. Reed, what were you going to say?
I actually have two quick hot takes on that. The first hot take is it's going to be very interesting to see how they do the PFA this year, because normally it kind of goes to the player who would step in and improve any team in the league. The best performer.
Yeah.
So, there's a really good argument to make that it could be Coast and it could be Hazard. And a lot of people are calling for Conte to finally get it after these last 2 great years, because Conte can step in and play in any club and dramatically improve their performances week in and week out. But I think I can't recall a player who's had more of a direct and continuous impact on a single team than Jermaine Defoe.
And he's 34.
Yeah,
I thought he was over the hill when Spurs sold him, a couple years back. And it's just, in my mind, it's remarkable. And I mean, looking at yesterday's match, Palace outshot and outpossessed Sunderland by a fairly wide margin. Yet Sunderland just took their chances, and that's that's very Jermaine Defoe.
Jermaine Defoe.
He's clinical.
Yeah. Real quick. A really big thing that people say a lot, a really big thing that's been coming up lately is about how when Pyatt left, everyone thought West Ham was actually going to do better because so much of the action was orchestrated by him, and so many of the goals resulted either from his goals or his assists. And it's a similar criticism that happens in Swansea with Gylfi Sigurdsson. And it's the same reason why a lot of people, when they looked at the whole side, when Robert Snodgrass was sold, and everyone was like, oh, he made like such a large percentage of their goals. A lot of people were saying, no, that's a good thing, because other people have to step up and become more creative, and it's going to make a more dynamic offensive effort. But those are all creative players, where Jermaine Defoe is a finisher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the bug when it's a creative player that so much of your offensive production comes from one player. But when it's a clinical, classic number 9 finisher, that's a great thing. You can't ask for anything better than that,
And I think it's interesting. I mean, Sunderland went with the 3 in the back yesterday, and we'll move on to some of the other relegation battles in a minute. But just that, I mean, we've seen this trend with teams going to this, and it seemed to work fairly well for Sunderland. I mean, they didn't have a ton of possession, but they were able to create some chances. And then, like you said, with that clinical out-and-out striker and Jermaine Defoe, who just does not fluff his chances when he gets them, they were able to put those away. And why don't we stay on the topic of the relegation battle for a second? Because my second favorite team at the moment, Hull City, got a vital 3 points at home against Liverpool, seeing off the Reds 2-0 behind goals from Alfred Ndiaye and Umar Niasse. Big 3 points for Hull. Big week for Hull to get 4 points out of against Manchester United and Liverpool. So a few weeks ago, and if you're a new listener, I had the incredible hot take that Hull will stay up. Reed, do you think it's possible? Can the Tigers?
It really is. It's really shaped. Yeah, no, it's really possible. It's really kind of shaping up like that when you look at how the table's organizing. Honestly, if you had to press me, it really looks like it's going to be Sunderland, Palace, and either Borough or Leicester. Judging on current form and potential, it's super crazy to think that Hull and Swansea that have been absolutely shambolic before Christmas really have a strong chance of staying up. And I think a lot of people, especially you and I, really try to defend Bob Bradley. And honestly, I also thought it was unfair to sack the Hull manager because he really wasn't given much to work with. But when you look at what they've done at Hull, and you look at what Paul Clement has done in Swansea, it's tough, but you kind of have to say what's the variable. Maybe it was the managers.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the point I was going to make, especially at Hull. I mean, the sea change since they fired their manager has been incredible, and I mean I've said this before in the show. As someone who's not a major tactician, what I kind of like to see from the lower sides, the relegation threatened sides, is are they, use a favorite word, lively? Do they act like they belong? Do they act like they can go up against Manchester United and Liverpool, and then they get Arsenal next week and look like they can get a result? And Hull, I think ever since they sacked their manager, actually have. And, results like Saturday's, I think this relegation fight will go down the last day. And, because of that, you might look back on this week as being a huge one for a team like Hull. So you say you think Palace, Sunderland, and then either Borough or Leicester will go down.
It really looks like it, yeah.
I'm not going to hold you to that, but I still think Swans will. I'm not sure why they're out of the drop zone at the moment by 1 point. And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I say Hull will stay up and Swans will go down, and I have no real reasoning to back up that point. But Palace, though, ooh.
Yeah, no, just one more thing on the Swansea situation. I think I really, really back the defensive organization, the ability to organize the defense and instill that into a team that Paul Clement has. And I think a little of that has to do with not only did they sack, also cut out some of the backroom as well. So you had Paul Clement and Makelele come in, two just very intelligent players in their day, and I think they've really done well because they've kind of tightened up, which is traditionally what you want to see from a relegation threatened side, a lower level side that they got to be tight in the back and take their chances. But it's really interesting to see the spectrum between Hull and Swansea, where Swansea have kind of tightened up and they've gotten more defensively organized and they seem less porous. Whereas Hull almost just seem, I like your word lively. They're very, there's just something about them, They don't particularly play defensively stringent. They don't really have a great defense in the first place, but
they create chances. And
yeah, it's more of a mentality with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that might be kind of what I'm getting at with the Swans thing. But I mean, a lot of times, if you're relegation side, you just got to park the bus and hope for the best. And that's a little bit of what Swans did today. We'll get to that result in a second. To run through a few of the other results, West Brom 1, Stoke City 0. The Baggies keep on plugging with another vital 3 points. They remain at 8th in the table. Probably not going to qualify for a European spot, but a good season for West Brom. Watford 2, Burnley 1. Good result for Watford. Good week for Watford after beating Arsenal midweek and then beating Burnley. And Reed, now I'll throw it over to you. The Hammers, Southampton, 3-1. Gabbiadini opened his account as a Saint, but it was not enough. What do you make of West Ham's performance Saturday?
Oh, he was mad, really. When I saw it, because Gabbiadini, he was just onside. He really looked offside when I saw it. But yeah, I honestly, when they scored as like 11th minute. It was a really well taken ball. He just smacked it into the top corner, bounced off the inside of the bar. Dan Randolph had nothing he could say about it. And I thought we were going to get battered. I thought they were, not coming out with the right mentality. I thought that City match was holding over them, hanging over them. And there's a rumor that the former Manchester City boss, actually, Mancini, was in the stands that match. eyeing up what a lot of people are linking to potentially his new job. There's a lot of pressure with the manager right now. But they really came back. They really built back. I think it's all due to Pedro Obiang. Pedro Obiang had a great game. Very impressive. I was very impressed with our midfield effort. Mark Noble has definitely stepped up in the last 2 weeks because he has kind of had a history the last season and a half of not definitely knowing his role and not playing to his own strengths. And that's been a big criticism, but he played a much better game yesterday. But yeah, it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see the dynamicism of the squad because Cheku Kuyate just came back from the AFCON playing it right back after Sam Byron had a late fitness test failed. And Miguel Antonio as well. He started off playing off Andy Carroll up top, and then he, pushed back further into the midfield and then eventually at right back. It was a very crazy game, but it's very good to see. And Andy Carroll had a great game once again. It was a blast. Great game to watch.
And what did you make of Snodgrass? This wasn't his debut, right?
No, he came off the bench against City, but he didn't really do much. But no one really did much, so you can't really blame him on that. But Slaven Bilic, he kind of has that Eastern Bloc mentality in him, where he really does value work rate above almost everything else, and that's why he loves Antonio. That's why he loves Andy Carroll, and I think that's why he's definitely going to love Snodgrass, because Snodgrass slot right into the team. He was playing well. He had a couple chances go amiss that he could have done a little bit better with, but he's still adapting to the team. He actually ended the game playing up top in more of like a defensive forward. He was just chasing every ball he possibly could. And I think he kind of knows what he needs to bring to the gaffer to show him he wants to be here. And I was really impressed with that.
Good mentality for a new signing.
Oh, yeah. He really slots in really well. Him and Jose Font, they really seem to get along. They really integrated really well, despite Jose Font having a very difficult game against City.
Well, you're going to have those on occasion.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll talk about Gabby Goal in a little bit, but yeah. And just to touch real close on the West Brom Stoke game, a game that sounds really boring and just a Midlands, drill fest, especially a 1-0. That was actually the highly coveted Tony Pulis and now Sadio Bernardino, or Sadio something with a B, Derby, which are both two people that I really find very interesting people. I really, really rate Sadio. Well, Jack hates him.
Now poor Bernardino is suspended for 2 months.
Yeah, I know.
It's bizarre. And then Marquinhos comes
weird.
out and blames West Brom for leaking it 2 days before they play.
I know.
That's such a story.
Tony Pulis has a really, really bad relationship with every club that he's left. I think he was at Birmingham before he was at Stoke. I could be mistaken, but I know the club he was at before Stoke. When he left them for Stoke, it was a really bad move. The club, the back room was very unhappy with him. And when he left Stoke, they were also very upset with him. And yeah, I think you're kind of seeing that here, where he's a really likable guy. I really rate the manager. One of Britain's best managers, one of the best British managers. But
as you've seen of what he's gotten out of West Brom this year.
Oh yeah. There was when West Brom released their kit launch, it was absolutely shambolic. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my entire life. I implore the listeners to Google it. Yeah, absolutely shocking. I should have been relegated on the spot, but he's done bits, man. It's very impressive. He's a very good manager, but it sounds like he's got a lot of dark arts going on in the background. But I rate that a little bit, actually.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Yeah, I rate that.
Well, finishing up Saturday's games real quick. Everton battered Bournemouth, popping the cherries, 6-3 behind 4 goals from Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku is absolutely on fire. Bournemouth, not on fire. They have not looked the same ever since they shipped Nathan Ake back to Chelsea. Bournemouth now also in the relegation fight, which I did not expect. I always kind of liked Bournemouth, but now they are sitting 6 points above the drop. They should stay up, but not something that they really wanted to deal with this season. And then moving on to the late game, my beloved Tottenham Hotspur 1, Middlesbrough 0, a Harry Kane penalty. The difference in this one, but it was one-way traffic pretty much the whole game for Spurs. And Reed, I'll get your opinion on something in a second. It was Borough, to their credit, parked the bus very effectively. The only chances they created were really in the last 10 minutes when they had to actually attack. What a concept. But one thing that it seems like the lower teams, relegation-threatened teams in the Premier League do, that they don't in Spain, they don't in Germany, is they just sit there, put 11 men behind the ball, and pray to God that they hang in there for a 0-0 draw. And in a fit of rage, I, on Saturday, lashed out at Borough and similar sides, cough, cough, Tony Pulis, cough, cough, West Brom, who employ similar tactics. What do you make of this? Because, when you get 70% of the possession and just batter, and Spurs were not perfect. They were not very good in the final third on Saturday. So there is some improvement there, but it's just so frustrating from a fan's perspective when – and not blame teams for doing this because they want to stay up, but just, when it's one-way traffic and you can't manage to find a way through.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely drill, but it's kind of that English mentality of I don't want to win, I just want you to not win.
Exactly.
If you ask an Englishman, said old Men in Blazers epitome. If you ask an Englishman, would he prefer good fortune on him or bad fortune on you? He'll always choose the latter. And I think that's a little bit of what it's to do, but it's I think there's almost a materialist perspective that can be taken, that if you look at the top 7 sides, top interchangeably 10, if you kind of shift around some of the money, you kind of see teams that know they're going to either get battered or they can either get battered or park the bus. So they're really just trying to nick the points and just get that Premier League money, or that Premier League TV money. So it's a little disappointing, and I think the best teams, the teams that everyone likes over on the bottom, don't play like that. But that's not how you stay up in the Premier League,
That's true. Well, looking at La Liga, that's why you see like 8-2 score lines when Barcelona just absolutely beat the crap out of Las Palmas. It's because they don't play that way, and I think you're right. It's a mentality thing,
and I think a little bit of that has to do with especially La Liga, and a little bit less so in the Bundesliga lately, but especially in La Liga, there's kind of 2 tables. Like there's the top 4 where they play really good football against each other and they're great matches. And then whenever the top 4 clubs go down anywhere, they absolutely pump whoever they're playing. Almost, not always, but almost always, they pump them just mercilessly. But it's because those sides kind of try to play attractive football against each other, and they try to build something like that. So it's a little bit of a mentality thing. But it's not good to see, but it's understandable.
I definitely agree with that. Well, we will take a short break, I believe, and come back and finish off with Sunday's matches. A couple intriguing games with Jesus as the savior for one side. We'll be back in a hot sec.
No, that went well. I think this is going to be really well. Yeah, this is going to be really well balanced. I'm going to try to send over some hot takes to your side for the Sundays games.
Okay.
Like good. They'll come to me. So just like say out there is do what we just did, but do it with the understanding that I may send one back over to you, just to kind of balance the podcast a little bit, and then you'll close it off with the ball's life. See what I'm trying to say? That
sounds good to me.
The airtime. Yeah, the airtime situation. All right, cool.
Do you know how long the first part was roughly? I kind of lost track.
I would probably say like 15 minutes if I had to guess.
Perfect. That's perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah, let me just open up the Sunday games real quick and just like give a look at them.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, it was just City and United.
Yeah, just the two.
Oh, great. Yeah, no. So yeah, I think the questions are gonna be. I think I'm gonna ask you whether or not. Oh, like you results, and then I'll put it back to you. Whether or not you think it's gonna be over the next 2 seasons, or this season and the next season, do you think Pep is going to phase out Aguero fully and go with a Clichy and Nacho Gabigol combo? Because I think that's a really good idea. I think they play really well off each other.
I think it's kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah. Just because Clichy is very clinical and he's very central, and Gabby's kind of roaming. I think that's an interesting combo. As well, and I think it's going to be. I think the next one's going to be. Do you think United can make the top 4?
Okay. Yeah, those are both
okay
questions.
Yeah, but just to give you like a
preview. I should introduce the matches, though, right?
Yeah, you introduce the matches, and I'll say something, and I'll push it back to you.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay.
It's hard to do this without Jack because we need to have it like down, otherwise we'll fuck up.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's hard with 2 people.
Just because Jack can kind of make these decisions in his head and direct them by muting one of us. So I think this 4 planning is important because it makes just a better pod. All right, yeah.
Okay.
Hit the rundown, say the welcome back, and yeah.
Okay, cool. We are going to go back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the pod. We are back with today's games and plenty of hot takes to accompany them. But first, the rundown on what happened. Gabriel Jesus, the savior, has saved Manchester City and their terrible defensive sins today. A brace for Gabigol. Thor, Gylfi Sigurdsson, briefly leveled with Swans, but it was Jesus in stoppage time who lifted Manchester City to victory. Swans cracked down in the first half and played pretty well. It was mostly, we kind of talked about in the last segment, one-way traffic for City like it was for Spurs, but Swans hung around. What do you make of this result, Reed? Does this say more about City and their future? Does it say more about Swans and potentially their ability to just stay up?
Well, I think it's a little bit unfair to compare what Borough did to what Swansea did against City, because Borough were just abhorrent. That was bad. That was just really disappointing play. That has no place in the Premier League.
That's fair. It was a tenuous connection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's that same mentality, trying to lock down the back. But I just think Borough were disgraceful. And I think Paul Clement's side is a different kind of steel to him. But yeah, no, it's very unsurprising that Gylfi Sigurdsson got the goal. He was heavily linked to West Ham after Payet left. A lot of people thought it was going to be a like-for-like replacement with him, and I think he would have done bits in the side instead of Snodgrass. But I actually am wondering, because I really rate Gabriel Jesus. I really like that he stayed with the side in Brazil that he came up through and got that title for him. And I'm wondering, do you think Aguero has any place in this side over the next season and a half, 2 seasons?
It's a really interesting question, and we've seen the past few days Cannavaro linked to Chelsea, linked to a bunch of transfer rumors. And I think there's something to be said for considering selling him. He's 28. He's had injury issues. He's not going to be elite where you can get, 80, 90 million pounds for him, probably. And City, in my opinion, just have a lot of gaping holes in the back. And, as the team ages, also in the midfield, that they really could use that money to fix and roll with 2 of the most talented attackers in the world up front. That might be something that not this season, not next season, but the season after, once you kind of get Jesus a little more seasoning, they should consider. But I take it you think that this is something they should consider, Reed.
Yeah, I really do. No, I really do. Just because Clichy Iheanacho, the young Nigerian, I think he does really well as that. Not going to compare him to Jermaine Defoe, but in that similar sense of just a central striker who's very clinical. And I think Gabriel Jesus kind of mirrors that well in that he's very fluid. He can play across the front three. He's got good both feet. He can score. He can assist. He's kind of a superstar, but I think he doesn't do that well without someone to play off of. And I think Clichy Iheanacho has the steel bottom to hold up the ball when he needs to and finishes. And I think he can finish the chances that Gabriel Jesus will make and De Bruyne will make. And I think it'll be interesting. And I think Aguero, I think it's going to be less City's prerogative to get rid of Aguero and Aguero's prerogative to get out of City, because it's hard to say he deserves to be in that side right now.
Well, I think there's some interest for City too, because you have some very talented younger players. Kevin De Bruyne is only 25. Raheem Sterling,
which is shocking.
I know.
That's so insane.
And he's so good. De Bruyne might be. No offense to Mesut Ozil, Christian Eriksen, he might be the most gifted creative player in the Premier League.
Yeah, Roman Abramovich, eat your heart out, man.
Yeah, really. What business for Chelsea on that one?
Christ.
But you also have Leroy Sané. Then you go back to the midfield, and you have David Silva, who's 31. Yaya Touré, who's in his mid-30s. In the back line, Gil Clichy, 31. Alexei Kolarov, 31. Fernandinho, 31. This is Pablo Zabaleta over in his 30s. Fernando, almost 30. You have guys that are aging, and the money that you would get from Aguero could easily be put back into that side, because it's not like City's defense is particularly good at the moment, and I don't think it's going to get any better, in the next year or year and a half.
Yeah.
So, for the totality of the squad, there's a lot to be said, I think, for selling a guy who, like you said, at the moment is kind of excess
surplus to requirements. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's hard to say, but I really wouldn't put that past Pep to gut that squad a little bit in the summer, just because it makes sense that he didn't do it in the first year, especially because he's trying to play this godforsaken system. But there's definitely a lot of dead weight, and there's definitely a huge wage bill. So, let's hope China's calling. We'll see.
That's very true. And the other Manchester side, also in action away at the King Power. All the power, however, was on Manchester United's side today. 3-0 victory for the Red Devils. Leicester continuing to be not very good. Manchester United now are within spitting distance of the top four. They are 2 back of Arsenal in fourth, and only 5 back of Spurs, who are in second. So a top 4 finish is definitely within striking distance for them. Reed, do you see that happening? Do you see Jose Mourinho's side playing Champions League soccer next year?
It's hard to imagine that he won't be, but when you look at it, you really can't think he will, just because they're playing well. They've been very hot. They're very, very hot. But this isn't a side, less Zlatan, that I think can keep it going. I think Zlatan, I don't think Zlatan gets hot. I don't think Zlatan gets cold. I think Zlatan is Zlatan. But I think a lot of that side is form dependent. And especially with the weird way that Mourinho's been managing it. Because, he thinks he's thinking too much. He's doing too much about it. Remember the whole Mkhitaryan situation where, they had a little bit of a falling out, and then he didn't play for 3 months. And then he started playing this super expensive world-class player, and then the super expensive world-class player played like it. And everyone was like, oh, Mourinho, he's a genius. It's like, yeah, no, dude, I could have figured that one out. And he's trying to do the same thing with Anthony Martial, and I think Martial is not – he's reserved. He's kind of had that attitude of just let me do my thing. I will let you do your thing. Just kind of leave me alone. I distinctly remember this because it was FIFA 14 was where he kind of made his name because he was just great in that game. And when he signed for United, it was a huge deal on the internet and Twitter and whatnot. And I saw his photo, and he didn't really look that bothered that he just moved to Manchester United. And I think that's just kind of his temperament, that he's not really one that needs a lot of fire under him, and you just kind of got to, let him do his thing. And Mourinho's not really doing that. He's trying to get into his head. He's trying to motivate him, but yeah, I don't see it. But
I don't really see it either. And this isn't going to make for an entertaining debate on the pod, but I think there is a gap between the quality that Arsenal or even City has shown throughout the season and what United has shown. And while United are the hot commodity at the moment, I agree with you. I don't see them keeping it up. For the simple reason that I think inevitably Jose Mourinho just micromanages the hell out of this side. And that kind of gets to your point earlier. It's not like Pogba suddenly went to shit in the past 6 months. They're just same with Mkhitaryan. It's not like these guys lost their ability to be world-class players. And I'm not blaming Mourinho for all of this, but I think that just all that pressure has it's a bit of a pressure cooker at Old Trafford right now. And I think at some point that will kind of cut their knees out from under them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're stringing along, getting good results. Being the teams they're supposed to, but they don't strike me as a side that, they beat Spurs. So I guess, whatever, but they don't strike me as a side that is super threatening if you're an Arsenal or a Chelsea or City, you know what I mean? Or Spurs.
Yeah. They're, I don't know. It's kind of a reason why there's never really been a Galactico side like this in the Premier League. I just don't think it works, They're a bit of flat track bullies, and they've been kind of battering no disrespect, but not the biggest teams, the champions, I guess. But I'm trying to say they're flat track bullies. They've kind of been battering the teams that they're meant to be battering, and they just don't seem to have a way about them that can beat a systematically well-made, good Premier League team. So we'll see. I don't know. It's controversial. And I'm going to push it back to you.
Okay.
Do you think Leicester stays up?
I think they do. And I think when they get Mahrez and Slimani back, that will be a boost. Really, this Leicester side has got to be just grasping at straws for whatever psychological boost they can get. And getting Mahrez back is probably their best player. And getting Slimani, who's a proven goal-scoring option, back, their record transfer fee, back from AFCON. They had them I believe they had him today, but that didn't do anything. But
they got to get their sorts about him. Yeah.
Just in general, they need something to lift them, and maybe this is it. I have a hard time imagining a team that has Mahrez on it going down, but they're in a very precarious.
It could happen. Yeah. And I wouldn't put it past Leicester to do something unprecedented. But actually, speaking of Slimani, this is actually something that's really surprised me. How he hasn't really, because he was doing bits for Porto last season, and he's kind of a physically strong, large-statured striker. And when you think of what you want in the Premier League, that's almost to the bill. It's very strange that he hasn't really come off like a lot of people thought he would. I think it's very disappointing.
I agree. I rated that signing a lot when they.
Oh yeah.
They did it. I thought it would be a success. Not that I thought he was going to help them repeat as champions or anything, but
no,
I thought Leicester would finish 8th or 10th. Somewhere in that range.
Established, yeah.
Where not holding the trophy at the end of the season, but also perfectly respectable given the quality that some of the top teams would show. So I'm a bit surprised by this. I will laugh uncontrollably if they do get relegated on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
Because that would just,
Yeah.
we were talking about this before. That would be one of the most incredible things in the history of sports.
Oh, yes, by far. I think it's really interesting. I think with that signing, they were really hoping for very welcomed mid-table obscurity. I think that's what they were trying to solidify, and I don't think it happened. So we'll see. They really could go down. What's really interesting is I do think it's down to whether it's going to be Leicester or Borough, but it's super weird because I really rated the way that Borough built that squad. They have Negredo, they have Gaston Ramirez is there still.
They just score goals. I mean, really.
Yeah,
yeah. That's the mind.
If Traore, it's a well-built team. It's a team that on paper you look like, oh yeah, that'll stay up without a doubt. It's a team that looks sustainable, but they just haven't been doing it. They haven't been getting it done. So,
well, we shall see. We'll take another break and come back for the final part of the show, the weekly installment of my segment, All Is Life. See you in a second.
Dude, I super forgot what I was going to ask. I super forgot. I was trying to have you look at your phone because I texted the group message. I super forgot what the hot take was going to be. Oh my God. Okay. We're good.
Save it for the midweek.
Yeah.
We'll circle back to it.
All right. Yeah, we will. We'll be okay. All right. Yeah, I'll mute up. I'll hide my face. I'm welcoming this edition. What's it on?
Third-party transfers.
Oh, thank God. Good. Did you talk about that Uruguayan side?
No. I didn't.
Okay, I won't bring it up then.
Yeah, you should.
I'll bring it up at the very end. It's a very super weird thing. I'll have an addendum at the end.
Yeah, Ball is Life. Like a footnote to Ball is Life.
Yes.
This would be good.
Oh, West Ham footnotes. Yes. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Cool. All right. I will see you on the other side of this.
Okay, we're going to bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Howdy, y'all, and welcome back to the show. This is Andrew Ball standing in for Jack Kelly, and we are coming at you with the 4th week of a segment that we are calling Ball is Life, a look into the politics of global soccer. And this week, we will be taking a glimpse at third-party player ownership and how the controversial practice complicates the transfer market. And many soccer fans are kind of vaguely aware of what third-party ownership is in theory, but don't actually know what the concept is. It's kind of like what the name makes it sound to be. It's where a player's economic rights are owned by a third party, aka someone who is not a club. And that person can be either an agent or a sports management agency or even player's family. But there are a lot of global firms that kind of specialize in this practice. It's most common in South America and parts of Europe, where smaller clubs kind of turn to this route as a way to make money if they have limited financial means. They turn to these outside groups and turn over the rights for the ability to develop players at a better, improved rate than what they otherwise could given their financial means. But because of the way the deals are structured, it's actually in a third-party owner's best interest to transfer the player as much as possible because they will typically collect a portion of each fee, and that's different than the one-off fee that a club typically receives unless they have clause in the transfer that they receive for selling a player. So one of the most prominent examples of this is with Corinthians in Brazil. And between 2004 and 2007, a London-based investment firm called Media Sports Investment held a controlling stake in Corinthians. They brought in a slew of players whose rights were owned not by the club per se, but by MSI. And these players included a bunch of prominent guys who have come out of South America and played in Europe, including, most famously, Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano. So this caused complications in 2006 when Tevez and Mascherano forced their move to West Ham. Both players were owned by some combination of different management agencies, including MSI, MSI also brokered the deal, which was kind of weird. And even though this practice was not technically forbidden at the time, Premier League rules required that outside groups could not manipulate the transfer in any way. They couldn't manipulate club policy. And it was found that Tevez's deal with West Ham actually included a clause allowing the coalition of management groups to negotiate any further transfers and negotiate the fee for the transfers. And this is something not typically allowed based off of FA rules. So because of this, the Hammers were fined £5.5 million. Tevez and Mascherano would later move on to other clubs. Tevez went to Manchester United. Mascherano went to Anfield and played for Liverpool. The saga, though, ultimately prompted the Premier League to ban third-party ownership in 2008. And a big part of this has been criticism levied on the practice that it is a form of modern-day slavery. You're binding these players to the will of money-hungry investors. And the players themselves often have little say in nixing any sort of transfer movement. Looking at Radamel Falcao in 2013, moved from Atletico Madrid to Monaco, was in tears that he had to leave Madrid, but had really no ability to turn down what was a financially lucrative transfer deal for the third-party investors. Agents have defended the practice as a way of sharing the burden of risk when investing in a player's development, make it easier for smaller, cash-strapped clubs to develop players. This topic kind of came back in the spotlight last year after Big Sam Allardyce claimed to an undercover reporter from The Telegram in the UK that the practice was still alive and well, and that there were a ton of ways very easily that you could circumvent regulations against it. He said that Enner Valencia, who played for West Ham, is now on loan at Everton, had a ride to the club from Pachuca under third-party ownership. And while it appears that the Hammers didn't break any rules in buying the Ecuadorian, Allardyce's ease and comfort with this kind of controversial issue raised concerns of many. And this is because FIFA actually formally banned the practice in 2014 worldwide. But many fear that it's still a problem. It's clear that it is because you've had many teams, including Santos in Brazil, Sevilla in Spain, FC Twente, all being sanctioned in recent years for using TPOs. And because of this, some people, including the La Liga president, Spain and Portugal, it's a fairly common practice to have third-party ownership in those countries, believe that FIFA should not have a ban, but instead more strictly regulate third-party ownership. So it's ethical and not exploitive for the players. So this is an ongoing debate, and we would like you to join in on Twitter on what you think of the practice. Is a blanket ban the answer? Should FIFA instead take greater steps to ensure TPOs are conducted ethically? Tell us at Point to the Spot on Twitter with the numeral 2. And I will now bring in Reed. West Ham have a lot of experience with this, and I believe that you have a Ball is Life addendum.
Yes, a little footnote to add in. Interestingly, that Tevez transfer was actually considered widely what kept us up that season. He actually scored a goal on the last day of the season that kept us up. Is great, totally worth it. Totally worth the fines, totally worth only having for the season. But right now, actually, continuing on this topic of West Ham and third-party ownership, there's this club in the Uruguayan second division called Deportivo Maldonado, who are owned by, I think, a consortium of English and American investors. They currently have Jonathan Cagliari, who came from Boca Juniors. Boca Juniors sold it to Deportivo Maldonado, the club in Uruguay, who had him on loan at Sao Paulo last season, and now he's on loan at West Ham. I think he does have a clause that's an option to buy at West Ham right now, but very kind of shady stuff. There was a very complicated issue with this highly rated Argentinian keeper who was at City for, like, he didn't play. Like, he went from Estudiantes to this club in Uruguay who he didn't play for, and then he went on loan at Real Sociedad for like 2 years. Then Manchester City apparently bought him, but there was some issue with third-party ownership, so he went right back on loan to Real Sociedad, who Real Sociedad have finally actually bought this player, who's been at their club for like 3 seasons. It's super crazy. It's
And
very shady.
The loan loophole is one that's now kind of used a lot to get around.
Yeah,
regular.
yeah.
I
And
think that's a big
Alexandro actually made the same move. He made it from a lower side in Brazil to the side in Uruguay, then to Santos, another kind of not super trustworthy team, and then from this side in Uruguay to Porto. So it's a very, very tumultuous situation with this club.
Fascinating stuff, to be sure. There may even be a fable in all of this at some point, Reed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there could be a lesson to be learned. I'm telling you what.
But for now, that will be for a future midweek pod, which you should tune into on Wednesday. We'll be back at it. But for now, I have to go edit this because I'm doing God knows what. Reed, where can people find you on Twitter to rebuke some of your hot takes?
At actually Jack Kelly, because I'm actually Jack Kelly.
Well, to that end, if you disagree with anything I'm saying, tweet at actual Jack Kelly. If you agree with stuff I'm saying, find me on Twitter at Andrew Ball, BAHL. You, of course, can find the show at Point to the Spot with the numeral 2. And be sure to check out our fantastic partner, AmericanEPLThoughts.com. They are on Twitter at AmericanEPL. For now, please follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and just listen to us, please. We keep listening. We love you, dear listeners.
It means a lot. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, this is fun. Thank you, Reed, for a great show, and we will be back at it on Wednesday. For now,
hopefully with Jack. Yeah,
hopefully with Jack. But for now, everyone have a great start to your week.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay. All right, Andrew.
All right, I'll see you, man. I'm going to